Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the channel. We've taken you on our vacation to Fast, and now we're just back at home almost 2 weeks later hanging out. And I just wanted to check in and chat with everyone for a little bit.
Sorry, Ego.
Thank you. I do enjoy being behind the camera a lot, but I know I have to check in with you guys sometimes. I really do. So we really do enjoy meeting new people every time we go out, and we introduce ourselves, and each time when they learn that we're from America, they ask us, why'd you leave? And after living in Morocco almost 3 years now, and then living in America 3 years, the question that comes to mind is, why not? So most times when people actually move to America, they go for more like the work opportunities, which I understand and I get. But what they don't realize is the extra negative aspects that come with living in America. So today, I will be talking about our experience living in America and why, those factors cause us to look towards making hijrah to Islamic country or Muslim country. So stay with me until the end. I will be discussing a lot of important things, so you want to hear it all the way to the end. Okay, that's enough, please. It's hard making videos with these little people, but it is what it is. So one thing I want to discuss is the concept of the Ivory Tower. So as a Muslim, especially if you're a born Muslim and you live in a Muslim community, you end up being in that Ivory Tower, sheltered away from things that can possibly affect you spiritually. So you're in a group, like in a classroom environment. Maybe you go to an Islamic school, or you just have your neighbors that are also Muslims in your masjid, your community. And then you go from that, being around Muslims, living with them, surrounded by a lot of people that practice, most cases. And then you go from that to a place that is totally secular, that don't really have those things available to you. Then you tend to go through a spiritual decline. In my case, my husband's from Montana, so we were living. My husband is from okay, thank you. My husband is from Montana, so we went and lived in Montana for the 3 years that we've been in America. So there's no masjid over there where we're at, but there were like the Muslims. They're a very small community. We will use a classroom at a university and do Jumu'ah there. That's about it for the Muslim community. So it started to get very lonely. You don't have that person that you need besides me and my husband, but that extra person, like, because we can't be with each other all the time, really. But like, for example, in a classroom or in a community, you don't have that person to compete in goodness with. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us to compete in goodness. So without that competition, or without trying to, that person that you see in the masjid that maybe perform their sunnahs, so maybe you're feeling a little bit lazy, but this person can do it, so you can do it too. You compete in goodness that way. And it doesn't make you a hypocrite, you're just doing what Allah tells you to do for human. But that was missing for me, and I tend to go through a spiritual decline. Nothing too crazy, but I know I could do more, but then I wasn't doing what I can do. I fell backwards in a sense. So on the flip side though, living in a Muslim community, you have that there everywhere. So for example, with even hijab, you want to make sure you dress good because you see this person doing it and you can do it too, and that kind of thing. Like for example, the adhan calling every single day, 5 times a day. And even with my location, I can literally come in this room right here. I usually pray here when I'm praying by myself. I can actually hear the recitation of the Quran from the Imam. So like those things helps you spiritually. It's being around those dhikr circles and being around that kind of community can really bring you closer to Allah. And like living in America, that was something that I was missing, and that's something that tends to happen. Just from observation, not any statistics or anything, one of the worst outwardly behaving Muslim is immigrant Muslims, Muslims that left, for example, an Islamic country and went to America, compared to the reverts in America. They're not the best behave most times. And I do believe because they left that ivory tower that they had, they tend to go through a spiritual decline and not being the best selves that they can possibly be. So that's one negative thing that you experience living in, especially in America. Okay, I'm gonna get you some water. So that's my first point, a spiritual decline. I'm gonna grab some water. So my next point I want to get to is unspoken pressures, or pressures that you force upon yourself. This is what I like to call it, because the reality is no one is really pressuring you, but this is something that you kind of force upon yourself. So when you go to America, you kind of want to be an American citizen to the best of your ability. So then you start to put these pressures on yourself that no one asks you to do. For example, in the workplace, when you actually sign up for a job and you sign a contract, they're not allowed to discriminate against you for your race, religion, or sex. But you still find yourself putting these pressures on you because of where you're at. You might want to dress differently when you go to work, or you might not want to pray at the workspace because you're afraid that you will offend someone. Or at your school, you're afraid that you will offend someone by actually practicing your religion. But to be fair, in my experience, that was nothing that I actually had to deal with. It's so tricky trying to make a video with these kids. Okay. So I worked at JCPenney for probably my first year or second year being there. And I felt that pressure as well, like not trying to bother anyone with my Islam and my practicing. So during my lunch or my work break, I will find myself going inside of this closet and just being a little bit edgy when I'm trying to pray. But the thing is, I put that pressure on myself. No one told me anything. I just did it on my own until finally I just went to my supervisor and told her I needed to pray. Can I get around to praying? And she was super facilitating about it. It's not like they're trying their best to not get you to do it. It's just a pressure that you put on yourself. Well, I put on myself. And then my husband's case, when he was training to be the manager of Subway, when he wanted to pray, this really ups in his case. When he wanted to pray, this really bothered his trainer and told him that this is not something he can do and he needs to go outside to do that. So like in the winter, he would be outside in the parking lot praying on snow because he was not very accommodating. But in my case, it was completely different. I had someone super accommodating. So like those kind of pressures and not wanting to bother people, it can tend to lead you back into that spiritual decline of you not wanting to not be like a sore thumb sticking out. So like going through that and knowing how that made me feel, that was just something that I didn't want my kids being raised into, dealing with that kind of unspoken pressure of the influences that you can find in a secular country. So another thing I want to talk about is living expenses and the lifestyle. America is pretty expensive. We've lived in an apartment that costs $700, now costs $1,200, so basically it doubled, and no changes was made to the home. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck over there, so like there's not really a work-life balance, because most people end up taking 1 or 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just so that they can make it to the end of the month, which is pretty hard. When we were having our third baby, that reality really hit us. Like, we know we don't want to raise our kids here, and now we're having baby number 3. We gotta get going, else we're gonna get stuck, because you're gonna get stuck living in that country with the way it's set up. You won't be able to move that fast. It's not the case for everyone. There's some people that doing pretty well, like Elon Musk, you understand? But in general, for the average American, you will end up getting stuck behind bills or paycheck to paycheck living, and that's just not a real life. Especially if you want to free up your time to, for example, take on a hobby or study Islam, or do something for yourself to benefit yourself. When you're working 40 plus hours a week, almost 40 plus hours a week, 8 hours a day, taking up most of your daytime, and by the time you're ready to go back home and give time to your family, you're pretty much tired out. And we knew we wanted something different, and that was something that we pursued. And like living in Morocco, it's a complete flip side. There's more life than work, which makes it difficult to get anything done really and truly, because everything is mushy mushkil. It's not a problem. Just go with the flow, but then you end up not being able to get something done. But if I was to choose between the two, of course, I would rather have time to not get something done and just be with my family than work, and not see my family. Just having a better work-life balance was something that we were seeking. And alhamdulillah, we got that. And another bonus was the expenses. Having a family of 5 is doable here, that we can not be too worried if another baby comes, or not stress too much, because it's better over here. It's cheaper. And don't get me wrong, Morocco is a little bit expensive compared to like other countries you can make hijrah to, and then like it is expensive for some Moroccans as well. But for us, in our case, it is very much doable for us here compared to living in America. So it was like a no-brainer. The things that you can get for $600 here can't compare to what you can get when you live in America for $600. And that's why there's more time to do things that you need to do here in Morocco compared to America's. Then money doesn't go a long way. So yeah, that was another reason why we love. So like actually comparing the both and what was valuable to us, which is having our family and having time to give them, then working, we had to make the leap to come here. So my last thing that I will leave you with is security, feeling safe and secure. I feel super safe here in Morocco. I have no fear at all of being harmed, alhamdulillah. And I think that's a huge benefit of living in a Muslim country, because Muslims fear Allah, not the law. But like in Western countries, the fear is more towards the law than God. So when you live among God-fearing people, it comes with a huge difference of feeling safe and secure. Like, honestly, when people say, I hope I'm not being reckless, but honestly, I feel like Morocco is one of the safest places you can ever be, you can ever live in. The only thing that you're probably unsafe from is maybe a bad drive or a bad deal. That's about it. A bad drive, because they're not the best drivers, sorry. And a bad deal, because there's a lot of negotiating. Sometimes you lose the negotiation, sometimes you win it. That's it. So a bad deal and a bad drive. But other than that, I feel super safe here. I have no problem at all walking at night by myself. And even with my family, I don't have a fear of anyone harming them, especially when you're walking past strangers that you don't know. And the first thing they do when they see you, especially with kids, is that they make a prayer for you and pray for your kids. And that is super incredible and something that I've never gotten living in America. But in America, it's just a constant feeling of not being safe. At JCPenney, we actually had to do like shooter drills. And like if you watch the news, of course you're gonna, probably once a month, there's some kind of random shooting happening. And then there's also an issue with races being against each other, racism, just not being safe. That was huge for me. I was always looking over my shoulder when I'm out. I'd rather be at home or by my in-laws and nowhere else, because I never really felt secure. Honestly, it was a no-brainer for us to move to a Muslim country. I feel like that's a duty for a lot of people living in a country that does not uphold the rights of a lot of people, especially a country that can care less about Muslim lives. So it was a no-brainer for us to leave and actually make hijrah. And when the opportunity came to us, that's what we did. And we're here in Morocco almost 3 years later with no intent on going back to America. So it wasn't all negative. Of course, I lived among family. I had lots of good times there. But those things were really major for us that we knew that we needed to leave and actually make hijrah. And alhamdulillah, we did take that opportunity when it came and we left. But in general, I don't think those countries are very Muslim friendly. We are raising young Muslim people, so we wanted to give them the better opportunity, and hopefully we're doing this. I do think the concept of Ivory Tower is very real, so I won't try to shelter the kids too much from that, because I don't want that when they do leave their Ivory Tower, they don't know how to act. May Allah guide us all and keep our kids guided. But those factors were a major push for us to leave America. And those things that those factors that made us left, we were able to find in a Muslim country. So I would encourage everyone, if it's possible, to make hijrah, to do that. And I hope this video is helpful, and I hope you enjoyed chatting with me. And thank you for watching to the end, and I hope to see you guys in the next video, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.